Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to my home studio, known as my daughter's room. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what's going on in chapter 4 when we talk about ethics. So, you're going to be given this slideshow, and then you also have your outline. But because you're in cyber, I feel like sometimes you just need a little bit of like a teacher kind of input on it just to kind of know how serious are some of these different things. So, our overarching topic that we're talking about is ethics, and then, of course, business ethics. So, when you think about ethics for yourself as a student, different things might come to mind, like taking an extra lunch when you're only supposed to have one lunch. It could be cheating on homework, cheating on a test. Those could be some of the different things. And obviously, there are very oftentimes absolute right and wrongs, but sometimes in business, there are a couple things that are a little bit of a gray area. So it could be kind of good for one person and not good for another party. And so that's kind of where that gray area is going to come into play. So what's going on is that companies need to abide by this code of business ethics. And some of them are going to literally have them written down. If you work somewhere right now, you might have noticed that that's an actual thing. They call it code of conduct. They call it business ethics. It's basically like different things that that company expects you to do. So we want to look at a couple of these different things and then how it parlays into different companies. So on one side of it, they have legal responsibilities to make sure that they're doing the right thing. You probably learned about sweatshops, possibly in like middle school social studies class, child labor, different things like that. But one of the things you maybe never heard of before is OSHA. OSHA stands for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Believe it or not, even your schools are regulated by OSHA to make sure that everything is legit. What might come to mind when we talk about ethics would be in some cases where we have large oil spills down in the Gulf of Mexico. Is it appropriate for people to then still work in that area, go out and fish in that area? Areas of contaminated water. Those are some different things that kind of might come to mind when we talk about OSHA. And then when we talk about code of ethics, as we just mentioned, code of ethics, also known as code of conduct, it's basically the guidelines that that place that you work, that company, expects you to abide by. These two little things over here, obviously this latter one is going to be for OSHA. And then Blackfish is going to be that documentary that was created about SeaWorld and the orcas. It is a very fascinating documentary. I think you can actually still see it on Netflix, but it's basically the mistreatment of the orca whales. And then eventually the orca whale lashes out and it's very horrific and ends up killing one of the trainers at SeaWorld. But the documentary kind of uncovers the mistreatment of the animals and kind of explains how something could actually get that bad. What we also want to look at is when we want to make an ethical decision, where do we begin? And this 5-step process is just kind of something that can help us out with that to make sure that we're making the best decision. Because as we said, sometimes when you get a little bit older and you're in these more serious situations, it's not always obvious what is the absolute right thing to do and what is not. In this class, you guys are going to do a project on social responsibility. Social responsibility is very trendy right now, and all different types of small, medium, and large companies are jumping on this bandwagon with social responsibility. And basically, for social responsibility, there are 4 different areas that a company may get involved with, or they might get involved with all 4 of them at the same time. So one of them is going to be the responsibility to create safe products. If I know that I'm making something that could injure a child, could contaminate dog food, cat food, something like that, obviously that's going to be an issue. Another responsibility that I have as a company owner is to create jobs where I'm located. And then coming out of the pandemic, we probably see that change a little bit more too, creating jobs really for all different types of people in the world. I want to make sure also as a company owner that I'm protecting the environment. I'm making my best decisions. You're even seeing some of your ice cream shops and sandwich shops now going to the paper straws. I know that may seem like not a big deal, but it actually is at least a step in the right direction for protecting the environment. And then the last one is to improve the standard of living. And what we're talking about with improving the standard of living is providing our workers with a good enough salary, a good enough hourly pay that they can live in this area where they work, put food on their table, drive a decent car to get to work, take public transportation, whatever it is that they need. So we're actually going to take a look at a social responsibility project in this chapter. But in addition to that, there are different types of laws that have been created to protect our consumers, and you kind of looked at these already. So we've got our Food and Drug Administration. What we're looking at down here, probably a lot of you remember the E. coli breakout from Chipotle, but you may not remember, I think this was in the late 70s or the early 80s, the cyanide poisoning in Tylenol that was a major, major scandal. And now every time you buy any kind of medicine and it's got the plastic wrap and the child protective lock and all that, all of those different steps were taken post Tylenol poisoning to try to make sure that everybody knows these medicines are actually safe. All of that stuff falls under the FDA. Another thing that is really cool is going to be the Equal Pay Act. So in the Equal Pay Act, you're going to learn a little bit more about that. But one of the things that is really kind of wild is there's a lot of research out there that still shows that different genders and that also different cultural groups are actually still paid more than minority groups. So it's really a shocking kind of thing that we still have that going on in 2021. But it is a fact in different industries, and some industries are worse than others. And then we've got the Environmental Protection Agency. Obviously, several different things are going to fall underneath of this when we're talking about our exhaust from different manufacturing plants, our water runoff, clean streams, and all sorts of things. So what happens is that several companies have different things in place that they're going to do for social responsibility. And really often they're very loud and proud about it because it's something that they're very, very proud about the fact of all these different things that they do to give back. So that is Chapter 4 Ethics in a nutshell. I know that you've seen your outline and I know you had this, but this might help you just a little bit more.